man. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this series goes, as this is actually a Protoss versus Zerg. No Terrans in this game. We'll be right back. Alright, spawning down here in the bottom side of the map, merry-go-round, we have the blue Protoss player. It is Capoch, the Argentinian Protoss.
And on the left side, the red Zerg. We just saw him in the last series. He may have dropped down, but he is furious. Also from Argentina, it is ENG.
And actually, that's actually a really cool point to bring up, is the fact that they're both from Argentina, and I'm sure that like these two players are familiar with each other.
The point I want to bring up is that he's furious. That's pretty much it.
Well, let's not make generalizations about Argentinians here now, man.
Has nothing to do with the fact that he's on Furious Gaming. Ha.
Of course not. Dude, look at that. I'm telling you, man, that logo is not a very angry logo. He is not very furious.
For those of you who missed it, you missed our logo discussion that happened in like Game 2 of the last series. Or was it Game 3? It might have been Game 3.
Oh, man. I think it was I think actually it was just Game 1, dude. I was really impressed with that logo right off the bat.
That logo reminds me of the Root logo. I just want to say that again.
Forge first year from Capoch, maybe also with the early Probe
that
Scout?
Rascal, yep.
I
was wondering what the Probe Scout was for, because that was really quick, but I mean, some players, they just really like scouting a lot. A lot.
Ooh, we have a hatch first down over here for ENG. Oh, this is actually like the ideal situation. The probe actually not going in just quite yet. The forge is going to be finishing up in another 15-20 seconds. So he has a little bit of time before he needs to actually start throwing down the pylon and the cannons. Is he going to do it? No,
he's not.
That was actually like, in a sense, the golden opportunity. The only downside was that there was an overlord over there for ENG to scout out to see that the probe was there, but yeah, kind of interesting.
So he checks the third location. He just wants to make absolute sure, and that probe, is he heading back home? It looks like he is. So no shenanigans going to be going on. Of course, he does start the cannon back at his main base, well, at his natural, rather in front of it, but that's to be expected.
You know, that actually tells me that Capoch wasn't necessarily trying to get like the easy win. He was actually just trying to avoid an easy loss.
Yeah.
He wanted to play extra safe. He didn't want to just go for like a Nexus first or anything, and maybe he didn't want to go for the Gateway expand, but we'll have to see. Like, Merry-Go-Round is actually an insanely difficult map for a Protoss player to take a third expansion on versus a Zerg player. So this could lead into like a fast +2 weapons, like Blink Stalker play if we actually had an ordinary game, but we don't have an ordinary game going on, Cybert.
I may have been checking out something else, but man, that proxy hatch, which I mean, it's not even like, oh, you're so sneaky. It's like immediately spotted.
Yeah, exactly. It was like immediately spotted, but not only that, ENG immediately spots out that there is in fact a pylon going down. So he's gonna see that the cannon's here. He can just cancel this. This is actually like, it's gonna delay his third expansion a little bit, but there's actually a much bigger investment in getting a photon cannon and this pylon over here this early on. This is actually gonna do, look, there's no cybernetics core down.
Ooh,
like,
and
it's
he's even
delaying
going to be pulling the probe.
Oh my god.
This is, yeah, and if he just waits for that photon cannon to finish and then just cancels the hatch at the last moment.
He's going to, yeah.
Oh, and the photon cannon does not finish, so, alright.
He actually, yeah, he lets it finish, so it's just, I think a little bit of maybe not the best reaction time on actually canceling that. Because there's no reason why he really wants to keep that photon cannon alive. That could have been an extra gateway, that could have been 2 gas geysers or something.
New meta, man. You know, that photon cannon is in just the right spot to stop the one Muta rush.
If a Roach gets very close to this one part of the ramp, he's gonna be able to attack it.
Yeah, man, that's what it's about. Alright, Zergling speed on the way, and of course +1 attack. going to be on the way for Capoch. He, of course, wants to upgrade those Zealots to kill those Zerglings just that much quicker. And the third base is also about halfway done for Egg. He's going to be looking to set up for a little bit more of a macro game after his somewhat silly hatch in the kind of main base of his opponent. But again, my oh my, things have been a little bit upset here for Capoch. He's starting to get back on track, adding on, of course, that Warp Gate research.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly note, like, again, the fact that his Cybernetics core, it was delayed a little bit because he had to throw down that photon cannon. And it might not seem like the biggest deal, but you can see he's adding on 3 gateways. He's going to be going for a 4-gate pressure with +1 weapons and a ton of Zealots. And this is a very timing sensitive kind of attack. And you want to make sure that you're able to get that damage done nice and early. If you wait too long, your opponent gets out the roaches and it becomes a whole nother ball game. Unfortunately, it looks like we are getting a little bit of lag. Oh, it does look like it's you, man. So I'm going to actually ask you to leave. I'm so sorry, dude. I think you're going to have to leave for the rest of the game.
I just quit StarCraft2, so it should clear up.
Alright, well, it looks like the game is just going to be taking a little bit of time. 35 seconds for you to drop out. But unfortunately, Cyber, he's gonna try and iron out the details on his internet and whatnot. But yeah, so this is actually like a very timing sensitive push. So if the roaches are actually gonna be out in time for Egg to respawn, that's gonna make this so much harder for Capoch to do a whole lot of damage over here with it. And you know, he's actually gotten up to, wait, he has 5 gateways building, so this actually may not be the attack that I was talking about, but still, his warp gate technology is maybe like an extra 30 to 45 seconds delayed, and that is actually all the delay that you really need to make the big difference. Looks like Cyber just finally dropped out of the game, unfortunately. But 6 gateways on the way over here for Capoch. With that 7th gateway already finished up, it's going to be 7 gateways around. The Overlord now comes in. What did he actually see? I don't think he saw very much. No, he didn't see actually anything at all. Nothing that was actually helpful was apparent, except for maybe the fact that there's some Chrono Boost saved up for Capoch. But, again, that's a very difficult thing to read. A couple Stalkers now around. I wouldn't be too surprised to see maybe sort of something that you actually saw back at MLG Anaheim 2014 of this year. It was actually, I believe, Scarlet doing it to Dawn Regu. It was just a 7-gate, and Scarlet notably by Zerg, but man, this is such a strong push out that even not actually playing the Protoss race, she was able to make a lot of damage. A lot of Stalkers, a lot of Zealots warped in. Don't really need a lot of sentries. 4 Zealots now being warped in, and it looks like now Egg may realize, okay, there's some aggression coming. I have to be ready for this. Roaches and Zergons now coming out, but it looks like Roach Speed not quite finished up. Lair Tech actually not finished up. Oh, this is going to be a very, very scary hold for Egg over here. Crease spread not too amazing, but he is at least going to be connecting these 2 bases. That's going to help out quite a bit. They're not going to be able to really chase it out over to that proxy pylon. Now a massive number of Zealots and Stalkers now moving into the natural expansion. They're going to be getting into a decent position, actually. Time Warp going down, just slowing down those roaches. Drones being pulled. Is he going to be able to make the hold over here? The Stalkers are backing up. The Zealots actually on just a regular move, trying to back up. They now go after the roaches, but they've actually all been cleaned up. More Zealots going to be warped in. Is it actually going to be enough? There's actually a decent number of roaches over here for Egg. The drones are still pulled over here, though, so he's not actually mining at this natural expansion. That's going to be a big hurt to his economy, his ability to reinforce. He's only sitting on 47 drones, which is not exactly a massive number of drones, so he's going to need to get those drones back to mining. He has his queens pulled as well, so you can see he's missing out on these larva injects. All these things going to factor into the fact that he's not going to be able to produce quite as much as Capoch for a while. Stalkers and Zealots have been made in massive numbers, but a couple of sentries now being warped in. Could he actually go for the force field on the ramp? He could actually maybe just go and snipe off this 3rd expansion. That actually could honestly be a pretty nice win. But no, it looks like he's going to continue to push up into the natural expansion. He wants to go for the big win. He doesn't want to go for the small win and drag this out. He doesn't have any tech behind this. No Twilight Council, no robotics facility, no Stargate. He needs to get some big damage done. Just sniping off that 3rd expansion may not be enough for him. 32 roaches out on the map right now, dancing back and forth. It looks like a time warp. Sorry, not a time warp, but the sentry ability that gives you Guardian Shield. Guardian Shield is thrown down. But, you know, he has quite a few sentries now in the mix, and he can actually afford to throw down a couple of those forces. I'm kind of interested to see whether or not Capoch is just going to continue to warp in more and more units, or if he's ever going to decide to say, you know what, let me take a third expansion and just continue to be aggressive out of here. But no, he's going to try and push in over here. Continues to warp in more and more units. A couple of force fields go down. Isn't able to pick off a whole lot. I do want to note, I really like what ENG is doing over here. He's actually still mining off this third expansion. He's found a way to securely do that, because as soon as this army moves away from this natural expansion ramp, guess what? The entire army of ENG decides to move on down and get a big surround, gets into a very, very committed position for, or Capoch would have to get into a very committed position to move up to kill off this third expansion. And I really like that ENG is just keeping his roaches over here, so you can't just send a couple of zealots over to that third expansion and try and pick it off. He has to really commit by sending a majority of, or at least a good portion of his army up there. Finally, the rocks get taken out. Once again, no third expansion in sight for either of these players. Well, I shouldn't say either of these players. We have a third expansion down for the Zerg player. But now Capoch moves up the ramp. Is he going to be able to make the damage he needs to have happen over here? Guardian Shield is also popped. Decent force shields, but the force shields are going to be running out, and there's not a lot of force shields left over to throw up. In fact, just Guardian Shields being used. A huge surround actually coming out for our Zerg player ENG, but is it going to be enough? It looks like it's going to be so close. Drones being pulled off the line. Is this a little bit too late? The drones may have needed to be pulled a little bit earlier on. The Zealots now ripping apart the drones, but the reinforcements come in from the third expansion. It looks like ENG may just have enough to push in over here. The Queen throwing down transfuses, the transfuses of their lives. If he can somehow hold on, he's going to be in a gloriously further ahead position. Even with 32 drones, he has that third expansion. His opponent has no tech. He's pushing on through. More reinforcement warpings coming in for Capoch. He just needs to have buffer units. He warps in the Zealots, and it looks like he's going to be able to push on further through. It's not quite over just yet, though. ENG is trying to get out as many units as possible. This is actually a very, very close game right now. The force field's actually coming down. He's going to be able to trap out a couple of these units for ENG. This could be just what he needs. Any small little micro battles that can make happen in this engagement could actually turn the tide of the battle, could bring the win in your favor. Let's bring out all the stunts right now. GG gets called, and Capoch, the Protoss player, is going to be taking game number 1. And Cyber, I know you weren't able to catch a majority of that, but maybe you caught at least the audio for it. What do you know about, like, what did you catch about that game? Because I want to know, because I want to discuss it with somebody.
I caught the part of the stream that's coming up late. So basically I was listening to your commentary and then the stream with the delay. It's the exact same thing. Actually, some of it almost timed up. But, so Capoch takes game number 1, is that correct?
Yeah. Capoch actually takes game number 1. And it just goes to show, man, like, if you can take games off of Cham, there's a lot of Zerg players you can take games off of in Copa America. But, yeah, for anyone tuning in...
Those stalkers.
Yeah, man. Sorry, for anyone tuning in, since there are a couple of people asking about it in the chat, my name is Fear Dragon. Normally, Rifkin is actually hosting the Copa America stream, but today he is, in fact, busy. So he asked me to cover. I brought on Cybert over here, who's one of my good friends and buddies, helps me out with a lot of my own StarCraft content. You can follow him over at OneCybert, which is now correct, because for the first 5 minutes of the broadcast, it was the incorrect Twitter, which was totally my fault.
Quite nice of the Copa America guys to fix it so quickly.
Oh yeah, Copa America covering up for my mistakes, man. Very much covering up for my mistakes. But yeah, we're gonna be jumping into game number 2 very soon, and the map is gonna be Overgrowth.
If we hit another lag spike, like I hit last game,
I'm actually just not gonna be friends with you anymore.
Okay, good. No, what I'll do is
good. I didn't like you anyways.
Finally. What I'll do is I'll just reset my modem. And we'll see
yeah, sounds good.
So yeah, if I drop from the game, you'll have to resituate things once I rejoin the call, but I'll probably like reboot my computer, restart my modem just to make sure. Because it does this weird thing where like every once in a while, it'll just, it doesn't completely fail the connection, but the connection will fail for like 10 or 15 seconds and then it'll come back. And then like, it won't do that for 6 weeks and then it'll do it again.
Oh god, that's the worst. It's like the inconsistent problem that you don't actually know, like, whether it's actually been solved. It's, okay, in StarCraft terms, it's like when you have a build and you're not sure if it's gimmicky. Like, it sometimes wins versus... bad. Sometimes it wins versus really good players, but sometimes you just lose and you're like, did I just play that wrong? Or is this build really gimmicky? Like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
And you're, like, laddering and you're not actually hitting, like, the builds that generally beat you very often. So you're like, have I figured it out? Or is it me? Or is it the build? Like, is it figured out? Am I just playing good enough now? I don't know. But let's go ahead and jump into that map intro, going into Overgrowth in game number 2. Alright, we are going to be spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Overgrowth, on top of the Argentinian Protoss player. It is going to be Capoch, leading up 1-0.
And in the bottom left position, our red Zerg player, who is down a game, which means in this best of 3, if he doesn't want to drop out of this group, he needs to start bringing it back fast and furious style. It is Egg. Also part of a healthy breakfast.
A healthy, furious breakfast. Now I just had this image of, like, this guy playing StarCraft with one hand on... Actually, that's an interesting thing. The guy in the logo only has one hand on his mouse. Maybe his other hand is, like, crushing an egg, actually. Having a healthy, nutritious breakfast.
Sense at all.
Dude, he's totally just crushing an egg as in his hand. He's, like, furiously, like, shoving it into his mouth. He's like, all part of a healthy, nutritious breakfast.
This is the worst analogy, I think, ever.
It's the best analogy. You're just jealous, man. But what do you think about this Forge coming out once again? Because we saw this in the last game. I kind of gave you my thoughts on it. What do you think about it?
Man, I just know that it's super fun to do and super terrible to play against. That's my opinion. It's
so
man, like kind of all kind of cheesy gimmicky things. It's like super fun to do.
No! Oh my god. Okay.
The gap.
Okay. Oh, Egg! He's sending his Overlord there. He's sending it. Look at this rally point. Look at this rally point. He was sending it over to that location and back because he knows this is a possibility.
I wonder, because you did mention both of these players, they're Argentinian, and they probably have played each other. Maybe not, you know, if not on ladder, if not just on the server, then possibly in other events as well. And it's like, this is potentially one of those things where it's like, man, I know this guy. I know Capoch likes doing this sort of stuff. He's up a game in this series. He's not afraid to do something a little bit risky. And, well, he cancels both of the photon cannons. I mean, there's certainly enough drones here to deny too much else. So currently,
I mean, okay,
looking too hot.
9 drones pulled off of mining for quite a bit of time. None of those buildings, except for one pylon, actually finished up. I don't know. Like, it's hard to call. It's really hard to call whether that was worth it or not. And the probe is still alive with a single pylon out, so he could still, like, try and play down the cannon, but I really wouldn't like to see him do that.
Yeah, since only one pylon finished, it's like the drones, some of them transferred back to the main, some of them almost transferred back to the main, so it's like, if he transfers them all the way back to the main, then it's like, alright, Zerg player is probably down in that scenario. But he transferred most of them to the natural. It was pretty much already done. But again, yeah, just that one pylon. Everything else got canceled. Not a huge investment. Of course, you've got the later natural, but that's not that uncommon against a Zerg player anyways. So, yeah.
Yeah, 199 minerals lost. Thank you to the units or the resources lost tab. And you know what? I would go so far as to say that this game feels kind of evenish to me now. I mean, the Nexus is finishing up reasonably on time considering what he was doing. He delayed the Zerg player from mining, I would say, probably around that many minerals. I think that's actually one of my favorite things about games where there are cannon openings. Because unless you actually have an absurd amount of experience doing them or playing against them, it's really, really hard to get a good read on who's actually ahead or behind.
Indeed. Now, we do, of course, have the Cyber Core going to be finishing up. That third base, maybe a little bit more interesting thing to look at for Egg. He's going to be firing that off. And other than that, I mean, he's not going, like, super crazy aggro, but we've known that. He's just looking to drone up a little bit more.
Oh man, this probe trying to be sneaky on the left-hand side of the map. Good scouting over here from Egg. Manages to catch it. And that's going to be one big annoyance for Capoch, because as a Protoss player, you really want those probes out on the map. You want them to be able to plant down the proxy pylons, put on some pressure, because we already saw Capoch try to go for the big 2-base all-in on the last game. But here's the thing, Cybert, is that Overgrowth is a very different map than Merry-Go-Round. Merry-Go-Round is one of those maps where you're just like, look, I know everybody anticipates it, but I just gotta go for the 2-base all-in because I can't take a third on this map. It's so difficult.
Yeah, man, those thirds are just so open, but
Overgrowth,
yeah,
different map.
a little bit different.
Oh my god, look at this. He's actually tried to send out another probe, but here's the problem. The Zerglings are already there. They're gonna be able to chase down that probe, and he even chases another one of the probes that were out on the map all the way back home.
Oh man, and let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what he was hoping to do there, other than just plant down some proxy pylons. But he took pretty much the position right through the middle of the map, which is like most Zerg players. I feel maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just the Zerg players I see, but they pretty much always have Zerglings at those watchtowers. So it's like if you send out a probe by itself, it's most likely going to get spotted, most likely going to get taken out.
Okay, I think that Egg shouldn't know that something's up right now. He's making his roaches and everything, and honestly, behind this, he might not know how committed his opponent is just quite yet. We actually are going to have 3 gateways about to finish up. We already have 3 gateways out right now, so I think it's going to be 7 gateways total. So basically the same kind of build as last game. I mean, we even have Stalkers and Zealots, no need for sentries at this point in the game, just all-out balls to the wall aggression.
Yeah, man, that's 7 gate 2 base play. Again, it worked for him last game. Will it actually do so well in this game as well? We will have to see. There's the if it ain't broke, don't fix it adage that you could go with.
Oh god, these units actually a little bit out of position. Try and take out the destructible box. That would have been nice to try and snipe off that pylon. But oh, the Mothership Core getting very low on health. That would be an enormous win to be able to kill that off.
Yeah, for now it will escape. Again, those queens trying to make it to the front line to get the
snipe.
He does get it!
Hero Queen! It sacrifices its life for that, man!
That was quite nice for that mothership, for that queen to go ahead and get that kill. +1 armor. It's not quite going to be finishing up soon enough for the next couple of engagements, but warping in an extra couple of sentries. He hasn't had too many of those throughout the majority of this game, so maybe force fields will be able to split this army well enough. But again, I mean, force fields last game were actually pretty good, so maybe he can do it again.
Yeah, some pretty good force fields already going down, killing off a majority of those Zerglings that did manage to make their way around. And I've got to say, like, killing off the Mothership Core is really big just because right now you can see Capoch knows it. He reproduced his Mothership Core because he knows if this doesn't work, as it's kind of not working right now, he wants the ability to recall out and be able to somehow try and transition. It's really difficult, but at least with the Mothership Core recall, if you can keep your units alive, you can still kind of do it.
Yep, you don't have to worry about like, oh no, I got surrounded. You can of course recall out of that if you're fast enough. Now of course, alright. The army's up again, almost like passing ships in the night. Now this Mothership Core getting a little bit antsy. Apparently didn't get the memo about the last Mothership Core and her fate. But she does pull back at that point. Couple of spine crawlers finishing up as well in this third base. I mean, not a lot of mining happening, but he doesn't want to throw it away. And yeah, those spine crawlers, those are looking good.
Indeed they are. I also just realized that apparently the overlays are wrong. I updated the score, but I didn't actually save the score. So guys, it is 0-1 right now. Capoch is actually up 1 game.
Okay, so we didn't randomly miss a game.
No, we didn't randomly jump into the series like after that. But look at, geez, the spine crawlerage coming out from here of Egg, like 4 spine crawlers.
Spine crawlerage?
Dude, spine crawlering is now a verb with how much Egg is looking to do it right now, and it's gonna make it really difficult to actually push in over here. Here's a really interesting thing though. Spine crawlers, if you position them like by those chokes, they kind of become like force fields to your opponent. Like you can't fit your units there anymore. Those are really big, bulky units that if you add force fields in with them, they actually become like a wall in. It's like how the hatchery sometimes becomes like a giant force field for the Protoss player.
Yeah, of course it does depend on that engagement, and of course with these debris potentially going down, yeah, he'll actually be able to kill it off at this point. He can always go for that counter, well, not so much counterattack, but for the surround. He can always be looking for that option. But again, yeah, he has to be so careful with those spine crawler positions because it's like he's moving them one place and then the other, trying to predict exactly where Capoch is going to be moving in. But I mean, Capoch, he's really loving this just sit on 2 bases, but he hasn't really done any damage with it.
Yeah, he's actually going for the robotic spade, getting an observer as well, because honestly, he's pretty in the dark about what his opponent is actually up to. There could actually be Roach Burrow, and that would actually murder what he has right now if there was Roach Burrow out on the map. So he does have to be aware of that, is going to prepare for that with the observer and get out the Colossus. But in the meanwhile, Egg has actually found a really nice opportunity to just kind of insert a couple of drones here and there, wherever he can, because not too long ago, he was sitting 36 drones when this push was coming in. He's been able to sneak out units and drones at the same time, as well as also get out those spine crawlers. And now he's sitting up at what? 48 drones? He's sitting out at, it's not a healthy drone count, I wouldn't go that far, but he's sitting at a reasonable drone count.
Yeah, as long as, I mean, he's technically got the 3rd base, and it is mining a little bit there, but he's really just been sitting on that 2-base saturation, so that's all right. Of course, he wants to add on more drones, but will he actually have the peace of mind to add on those drones? We'll have to see. I mean, he is maxed out on supply, but this next engagement, this could be what seals the deal. We'll have to see.
That's actually so funny. Yeah, Egg is now maxed out on roaches with barely like 48 drones.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting engagement. It's pure Roach and a couple of Queens in the mix. That's going to be helpful, obviously, for the transfuses, but I really like what he's doing right now. He's sending a couple of these drones out to the other side of the map, and also, he's planting down the creep over by the 3rd expansion because he knows, you know what? No, you're all in with this. You're not allowed to take a 3rd expansion during this. You got to win with this push, or I'm just eventually going to be able to sneak in a couple of too many drones, and I'm going to actually just be a 3-base Zerg against a 2-base Protoss. Eventually, I'm going to be able to win out.
Yeah, I mean, he could just be hoping for that war of attrition, but well, we'll have to see exactly how that goes. Capoch, is he actually going to engage here? He's like, I'm just going to take a different 3rd base. Yeah, okay, so he's just posturing. He's just, you know, saber rattling a little bit here, not really looking to do crazy amounts of damage or force the engagement that'll be unfavorable for him. He's probably going to be just waiting. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take my 3rd. Yeah, it's super delayed, but I've got that observer parked over your army, who are all roaches. I'm going to be working towards those Colossus, getting a couple more of those into my army.
Oh man, Egg actually just moved in with those roaches. He just poked into the natural expansion, saw the Colossus, and immediately moves out with his army. Kills, or actually doesn't kill off the pylon. That's a bit of a mistake. Gets it very low, but maybe he just feels this is a very time-sensitive thing right now. Actually, this is such a messy engagement. What on earth is going on?
Alright, so apparently Roach is getting split up pretty much every which way. Not a good engagement for I don't know if either of these players, but it looks like eventually Egg is going to be forming some sort of a front. The force fields are splitting it pretty well. Some of his roaches are just up in the top, not doing anything. Capoch gets the surround, and that's the 2-0. I'm kind of surprised that he waited quite that long, but I mean, yeah, man,